My boss treats me as if I'm transparent.
I got replaced 2 weeks before signing a new contract
feel left
because
out.
I
I
didn't
was
speak
discriminated
Mandarin.
against for
Uninvited.
being pregnant.
My
My
colleagues
supervisors keep
always
giving me more
ignore my
work, even though I
ideas.
told them I was burnt out.
Making the jump from school to work can feel really overwhelming. Polls conducted by the National Youth Council from 2021 to 2023 found that the top concern for young working adults include toxic workplaces, burnout, and job search challenges. So what can we do to build mental resilience, handle the unexpected, and find support that we need to thrive? I have with me here Viaano Spruyt. He's been an active mentor helping many young adults tackle their issues at work. So thanks for being here today, Viaano.
Thanks for having me.
What do you actually do when you mentor?
Actually, two parts. So one, I'm with a self-help group called the Eurasian Associations, but I also run my own company where I take in interns and I dispense work-related advice and mentorship as well.
Today we're talking about helping young working adults and deal with their job search challenges and other challenges they may face at the workplace. So I have also a personal sharing about my own job search challenges, and I want to see what your thoughts are about it.
A while back, I was actually coming off of my career break and I was applying for multiple jobs. In fact, I think I applied for about 30. Two kind of brought me to a quite late stage, so I went through multiple interviews, multiple tests, and after about back and forth for about 2 months, these two openings actually did not offer me the role. So I was actually really disappointed, and I felt that I put in so much effort and I've applied and I went through so many tests. Was it all for nothing?
Is this a very common problem that people actually come to you with?
It definitely is. A lot of people, especially young people, my young mentees will come to me about the rejections that they face. And I think rejections is really one of the worst feelings that someone could experience, especially for a young person, because in essence it's like an invalidation of the person you are. But what I would say is, in order to build that mental resilience and to face rejection, you gotta be grateful that your bad things happen to you. Because what if you can see rejection as a learning opportunity to actually become better, to actually grow as a person, and to not be intimidated by rejections, but by seeing it as a part of life, that none of us are perfect, that we all make mistakes, and perhaps it might not even be your fault. Maybe your hiring manager or the mentee's hiring manager is having a bad week. Maybe the timeline is just not fit. What you don't want to do is to avoid it. I think a lot of youths, not only in Singapore but everywhere, they develop this avoidant personality behavior because they didn't have a good time or they got rejected and they just want to avoid every single thing, which is not healthy.
So actually what I did for my situation was that I actually reached out to the hiring managers to just find out why actually I didn't get the role. Two of the hiring managers responded to me, and the first one actually said that we are looking for someone with more overseas work experience, which at the point of time I did not have. So I really felt like that was something I could take away from this experience. And for the second hiring manager, they actually shared that it was not about me, it was more about the situation in the company at that time. They needed someone urgently, and so they couldn't approve my relevant paperwork if I were to relocate because it was an overseas role. So I actually felt that was actually a good thing for me to take away. I didn't feel so bad about myself, and I could actually learn how to improve myself.
So what you've done was perfect. You'll be getting what I would call direct feedback. And that is the most important thing. You really cut to the chase, right? You don't want to dwell over it. You don't want to spend days, weeks, even months and overthink what you could have done better or what you have done wrong.
What I've been sharing so far is about challenges during the job search stage. But what about rejection within the workplace itself? So during my research, I actually came across a story of someone who actually started working less than a year ago. So he shared that when he first joined the company, he felt a lot of ownership over the projects that he took on because he was the only one in the company doing that scope of work at the time. But then as part of the company's growth, the company actually brought in a new manager for his team, and that actually created a shift in the dynamics. So he started to feel like he was losing autonomy in the projects that he once had, and that he was being excluded from key conversations that he previously was in. And so that kind of left him feeling, a bit sidelined.
That's a very tricky situation. So the first thing I would say is to assess the situation first. Give yourself a sort of like a timeline that's very comfortable for you to be able to withstand such a pressure from a new manager or a new team that comes in. Whether it's 1 month, whether it's 3 months, whether it's 6 months, it's up to you. When a new manager comes in, they will definitely have new ideologies. On the other hand, they're trying to see if you're able to adapt, if you're able to fit to their new ideologies. Gain the trust of this new manager or the new management team, right? I think that's very important, and that takes time. if you have tried your best, if you've tried adapting, if you've tried initiating, you've tried to build trust in a relationship, but it just isn't working out, it's pretty much best that you plan an exit strategy to really find actually a place that will actually value you for who you are and for what you can actually contribute and bring to the table, instead of letting your mental health deteriorate and being at a place where you feel like you're stuck in a box.
And is this also a situation where mentorship can come in to help someone like who might be in that situation?
A large part of mentoring is about knowing that you are not alone. It gives you a shortcut. It gives you an array of tools. The mentor has been there, he has done that. He or she will be able to give you perspectives that you might have never ever thought before to approach different situations that will be able to get you to where you want to be. It builds your self-confidence, it gives you self-belief, it also builds up your self-worth. From a mentee's perspective, what has really helped me so much is being in that non-judgmental environment that my mentors have provided me. They're able to communicate to me in a way that I could understand as a young person. And I think that's very, very difficult, and if you're able to pull it off, it really allows me to feel like, okay, I'm in a safe space where I can actually talk about my emotions, talk about my feelings. And as you know, as a young person, it's very hard to talk about this sort of things, especially with your parents, especially with your friends. So that is one of the huge benefits that I've personally encountered as a mentee, is to be able to just talk my heart out.
I'm just curious, because you said about this in terms of like life advice, very holistic. How's it different from, say, going to a therapist?
What I would say intersect both professions or both roles is that a mentor and a therapist is not there to solve the problem of either their mentee or their patient or the service user. They're there to be able to guide you in your times of need or in times where you face hardship or problems in life.
So it's good that we're on this topic, right? Because problems at work can go beyond just the task. What about interpersonal rejection or social isolation? Do you have any experiences with that?
There has been an experience which I have not shared with anyone really, but I think it's good to share because there's many lessons that you can take away from it, right? This happened quite some time back, and this happened in different country. So right from the very beginning, I had this supervisor which I felt was being very unnecessarily harsh on me, and you can see it, right, in terms of body language, in terms of the tone of voice, in terms of the use of language, which was very rude, very crude, very vulgar. Being like the new kid on the block, I was just thinking like, okay, right, maybe it's sort of like an initiation that I got to go through, right? Maybe it's normal, right? And I thought things would get better. Well, it did not. The behavior that I got from my supervisor increasingly became more abusive, not physically, but in every other aspect. And I was just thinking to myself, like the indicators that I was getting does not reflect on that abusive behavior. Like my clients love me, my colleagues, I'm working very well with them, they love me as well. I was putting in hard work, putting in the effort, I was learning and growing fast. I was just doing the exact same thing that my colleagues was doing, but I was getting a very, very different treatment. It sort of like almost destroyed my mental health. I just despaired. I dreaded going to work, I dreaded traveling to work, I dreaded sleeping. I lament even days before work even began. And that was when I realized something is wrong. Right? I kept second guessing myself, I kept blaming myself, I kept thinking, is there something wrong with me? That's why I'm being treated like that. And then one day I just felt like enough is enough. I'm not going to let this impact me, not only in the short term but in the long term, because it's just going to destroy me completely. So the moral of the story is to actually value yourself. We have that propensity, right, to kind of like blame ourselves and to think, okay, maybe it's our fault from the beginning. But you actually got to take a step back, analyze the entire situation, and kind of find the indicators of why is this happening.
So it's figuring out like, okay, maybe am I the problem or is something else the problem? And then learning how to deal with that, right?
Definitely. And sometimes it's also good to be transparent, communicative, right? If you really feel there's a problem, then why not just call it out? And things could even get better from there. Or if it doesn't, then perhaps it's time to find a different environment.
I think one point I liked that you mentioned was also be very cognizant of what's the environment, right? Like where do I fit in? Where does other factors come to play, such as other people that are out of your control, right? Like it's a really good learning point even for myself.
You just got to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. If you really want to reach the goals that you've set, you're going to be able to deal with rejections, you'll be able to learn more about yourself.
Make mistakes, but don't make them twice.
Yes, make mistakes, but don't make them twice. Yeah? Learn from your mistakes.
So if you're interested in development programs like mentoring, go to the National Youth Council website for more details. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and the Headstart newsletter for more tips on adulting. Thanks for watching.